My name is Miss Buckley, and today I'm going to talk about how to write a PIE paragraph using the story Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss. To begin with, let me give you a brief summary of the story. Yertle the Turtle was a very greedy turtle. He considered himself king of the pond. However, he figured he couldn't see very far and he wanted to be ruler of everything he could see. So he called for a bunch of turtles to stack themselves up in a tower, which he crawled on top of and used as his throne. The more Yertle could see, the more he wanted to see. So he called for more and more turtles. What Yertle didn't realize is that his greed came at great cost to those underneath him. In fact, the turtle at the bottom of the pile, Mac, actually ended up cracking his shell. He was hungry and starved and frightened. When he complained to Yertle, his complaints were dismissed. Soon, Mac did something unthinkable. He sneezed. The entire tower shook and Yertle fell into the mud, freeing all the turtles and leaving himself king of nothing but the mud. This story is a great example of greed and helps as we consider how to write a paragraph. We're going to use PIE to write about a theme in the story Yertle the Turtle. First things first, you might be wondering, what do I mean by PIE? Well, PIE stands for three things. P stands for point. What is the point that you are making? I stands for illustration, and E stands for an explanation. So point, you're going to make a point. We're going to create a theme and we're going to prove something about that theme. We're going to include an illustration. We'll illustrate it with a specific example, a quote from the novel, or a pointing paraphrase from the text. And finally, we'll explain how that point and illustration supports our thesis. So let's begin by creating our thesis. We need to come up with a theme. The theme is going to be something about how we would describe Yertle. A good way to think about how we would describe him is an adjective and what he values. Well, it's very clear that Yertle is very greedy. So as we think about creating a theme, we're going to ask ourselves, what does the story have to say about greed? I think one of the things it says is that it doesn't pay to be greedy. So let's outline our story. We'll begin with a topic sentence, which will be a thesis, what we believe the theme of the story is. And since we're writing about a book, we will include the title of the text and the author. Here's my topic sentence. A theme in Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss is it doesn't pay to be greedy. Now you'll notice that there are some errors in my typing here, but that's okay because this is an outline. I'll fix it when I type my final draft. So here's my outline. I need a point. The first point that I could think of is that Yertle's greed comes at great cost to others. I need an illustration to prove that, and I found that on page 18 of my book, where Mac says, "Our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving." Now I need to connect my illustration and my point back to my thesis. I can do that by my explanation. Mac's endless suffering shows how negatively Yertle's greed can affect others. Now, this is a fine outline, but it's pretty brief. I'm now going to take it and put it into my document and turn it into a full-fledged essay. So here we go. I have a topic sentence. One theme in the children's book Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss is it doesn't pay to be greedy. There's my topic sentence. Now I've included my point. The point is in red. One reason it doesn't pay to be greedy is because it comes at great cost to others. I end with the concluding sentence. Since Yertle hurt others, one theme in Yertle the Turtle is being greedy isn't worth it. Now that's a fine start to an essay, but I have no examples or illustrations, and I haven't explained how this point supports my theme. So I'm going to add an illustration. I've added it in black. Mac, the lowest turtle, had a severe pain in his back and stood up for others. Our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving. Notice that I put the words that Mac said in quotation marks. That's because these are the exact words from the book. I also included the page number I found it on in parentheses followed by a period. Notice I didn't just drop the quotation right into the middle of my essay. I introduced it with the sentence, Mac, the lowest turtle, had a severe pain in his back and stood up for the others. Okay, we're still missing our explanation. Let's see what that looks like when I add it in. Here's my final paragraph. One theme in the children's book, Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss, is it doesn't pay to be greedy. One reason it doesn't pay to be greedy is because it comes at great cost to others. Mac, the lowest turtle, had a severe pain in his back and stood up for the others. Our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving. Mac's endless suffering shows how negatively Yertle's greed can affect others. While none of the other turtles spoke up, Mac's complaint shows they were starving and in pain. Since Yertle hurt others, one theme in Yertle the Turtle is being greedy isn't worth it. You'll notice that in my explanation, the purple part of this paragraph, I write more than one sentence talking about how Mac's suffering is a proof of how Yertle's greed negatively affects others. I also talk about how the other turtles, well, even though they didn't speak up, were also starving and in pain, and Mac proves that through his quote. So this is the beginning of how to write a PIE paragraph. Next we'll talk about how to take a PIE and use it in a 5-paragraph essay.